This is Alex Perez with TequilaAficionado.com, and I'm with Mike Morales, who is in New Mexico. How you doing, Mike?
I'm doing well, Alex.
Nice to see you.
Nice to see you, too.
And we are at another episode of Sipping Off the Cuff, and now our video series. And
yes.
We will be doing some Jarro Viejo tequila.
Jarro Viejo. Now, here's a funny story, Alex. When you and I did our first audio podcast, Alex and I had been friends for, 5, 6, 7 years, but we had never actually met in person, which is the beauty of the internet. And when I finally made a trip to L.A., because I grew up in Los Angeles, and Alex is based in Pasadena, we decided to visit El Cholos, right, in Pasadena.
Right.
And I had brought, in those days, about 8 years ago, that's when you could fly with the alcohol in your carry-ons. And I had bottles of tequila that I wanted him to taste. And he had bottles of tequila he wanted me to taste. Unbeknownst to me, he had with him a whole podcast circuit board with a professional couple of microphones and headsets. And if you know anything about my background, I was in radio for a while. So Alex pulls all this stuff out of his bag of tricks. And I said, "What are you doing?" And he says, "We're going to podcast." I go, "You got to be kidding me." So one of the tequilas that we podcasted on, and you can listen to these on one of our original podcasts at TequilaAficionado.com. It's one of the original ones. If you search our podcast, you'll be able to find it. It was a very long podcast that we did at El Cholos, courtesy of them. And one of the tequilas that Alex brought with him was Jarro Viejo, which I had once before. And I was just a fanatic about the añejo, because I remember the añejo having some nuances of anise and spices, and it was just a beautiful spirit that I'd never had before. And Alex surprised me with a couple of bottles of Jarro Viejo. But 8 years later, we're back with Jarro Viejo. This is the new and improved Jarro Viejo. And we're about to taste this live at Sipping Off the Cuff. And we'll be able to tell you what it tastes like now.
Yeah. Well,
8 years ago. 9 years later.
Back then, I don't know if it was a Reposado or a Añejo we had tasted. But now we've got all three. We've got the what they're considering their Blanco or their Gold.
Mm-hmm.
Their Reposado and their Añejo. We're gonna go ahead and try them. I just poured myself what they're calling not a Blanco. They're calling it a Oro. I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah, it's kind of in a green glass bottle, if you can see that, or if you can see Alex is better than mine.
Good looking bottle.
It's kind of a green glass, very nicely made bottle, nice textured bottle. And for those of you who are geeks like myself and Alex, let me give you the NOM number on this. It's NOM 1435, according to the CRT, and this is considered. This is from their distillery La Barranca, and it is considered an oro. This technically is not a 100% agave tequila.
And it doesn't say it on the bottle.
No, it does not say that on the bottle. Sadly, it doesn't say that. We also are not aware, we could not get a straight answer from the brand owners or the importers as to the percentage of mixto that it is. We don't know if it's a 51-49. We don't know if it's a 70-30. We don't know if it's an 80-20. It's almost like buying ground beef. We have no idea
how much fat is in there.
Yeah, how much fat is in it? But I know, Alex, you poured yourself a glass, and tell the listeners what your initial impressions are on Jarro Viejo.
Well, we're always using the Riedel glasses, the Overture Riedel glasses, specially made for tequila. And on the pour, it's got a few leg formations. You can see the viscosity of the Blanco, or the Oro in this case. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't look like a real pristine Blanco or clear color, if you will.
No, it's fairly it's almost cloudy, I think, when I poured it in the past. And of course, the bottle itself is kind of a green tinge to the bottle, like a Coca-Cola bottle, for instance.
Right.
Tinge to it. So the color of the juice itself, you really can't tell until you pour it into the tequila or into your glassware.
Now the nose has some. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to say it smells briny to me.
I actually smell olive in here.
Okay. I smell briny. Would be like a salty, like sea salt, ocean salt, that kind of thing. Not as pure as maybe some of the other tequilas that we've had before in the past.
I don't get too much of the agave coming through here.
No.
And that's almost confusing. You want that in a Blanco, and again, it's a little confusing for me because it's not Blanco, it's an Oro, but it's not real gold in the color either. So
yeah, it's not technically, it's not a Joven tequila either.
Exactly.
Like Casa de Aragones that you had a chance to taste, or even some of the other ones that are out there, like Maestro Dobel. You're right. It's confusing. It's very confusing, actually. If you're not familiar with what you're looking for, this Oro is going to confuse you.
Yes. No, it is hot in the mouth.
Mm-hmm.
It is smooth. It doesn't have a whole lot of characteristics to it, though, in my palate. Okay.
It's a little bland, I think. And I'm not exactly sure. Well, it could be because it is considered a mixto. Again, it will not say that on the label. If you happen to pick up a bottle of Jarro Viejo, check the label. It will not say 100% agave tequila anywhere on the label. By law, if it is 100% agave tequila, it will say that. This one does not. Again, that's not to say that that's a bad thing, because there are some mixtos that are genuinely very good for mixtos. But in my case,
here's the box.
That's the box, and this is the bottle right here. And as you can see, they pride themselves on being estate grown and estate bottled, but they're very mysterious as to what the percentage is on the mixto versus the 100% agave tequila. And why, we don't know. We cannot get a straight answer from import or brand owners.
Why do you think that would be, Mike? Why would they keep this under wraps instead of being transparent, especially for aficionados like ourselves?
It's hard to say, Alex, because at this point it's very important for every brand to be transparent. And I'm not exactly sure why they are not. I'm not sure if they have something to hide, for instance, or if their master distiller, a lot of master distillers, maestro tequileros, keep their recipes and the way they do things very, very close to the vest. And that could be another reason why. If you didn't know what you were tasting, it's a very smooth tequila. And it's, probably the price point is very good as well because it is a mixto. But if you're a purist, you'll notice some nuances that are not, they're not they're not like some of the other tequilas that you've had before. And you'll know that. Not just from reading the label. If someone were just to serve it to you, you'll know right away that it was not 100%. That's not to say that it's a bad 100%. It's actually a very good 100%, or a very good mixto, and very passable for what it is. But I'm not sure. There's a brininess to it, and I don't know if you tasted, Alex, but I did. It's a saltiness, kind of like a ocean salt. It's not the hard agave punch that we're used to on a 100%, or even a sweetness that you get from a Highlands tequila. It really is none of that. It's not an earthiness that I can point out. It's not a sweetness that I can point out. It really is a little bit different, but it is kind of like it's a saltiness. Briny is the only word I can come up with. Like sea salt. If you've ever been to the beach, when you ingest a little bit of the ocean in your mouth or your nose, you kind of get that brininess, that saltiness, and that's what I taste in this oro. I will say that I've had an entire bottle of this tequila. There's no after effects. There's not a heavy mixto headache at the end of this. I would say it lends itself pretty well to mixing.
Which could mean a higher percentage of agave.
Yes. I would say that there's a higher percentage of agave than there is in a regular mixto. I would say it's higher than 5149 from what I've tasted. Maybe a 70-30. Doubtful if it's an 80-20, but 70-30 for sure. And there have been other brands who are now a 100% that started out as 70-30. For instance, Casa Vieja, which was started by the Bañuelos family after they sold the brand Cazadores to Bacardi. They started their own tequila that was a mixto, and it was Casa Vieja, and it is actually manufactured using the Mozart method. In other words, they play Mozart during the fermentation process, but it is a 70-30 mixto up until, I would say up until about a couple of years ago. Then it is a full 100%. So that, like I say, having a mixto doesn't mean that it's bad. Some mixtos are made better than others. And this is definitely a higher end mixto as far as I'm concerned. I think very mixable.
Now, do you feel that it not having 100% agave on the label will hinder their sales?
Unless you know what you're looking for, it will not. And I think that the brand owners and the importers are banking on that. Especially when it comes to the oro. The other one that is considered a 100%, I'm not sure if it's the reposado or the añejo, is considered a 100%. And
they both are.
Yeah. I think when it comes to the oro, it's maybe you've heard the term loss leader, where a shopping center or a liquor store will sell you this at a certain price, dirt cheap, and it's a quality mixto, but for a couple of bucks more, $5 more, $10 more, you can get a 100% agave tequila from the same manufacturers, and you'll go, oh, well, I like the mixto. I think I'll I'll pay an extra $5-10 and get a reposado or an añejo.
Right.
So there's a strategy behind this.
Right.
That's not to say that those of us who are purists are going to fall for the marketing. I feel, Alex, and I know you do, that our job at Tequila Aficionado is to look beyond the marketing. And the marketing for me says that maybe the oro is not where you want to rest, where you want to land. Maybe the reposado or the añejo are the ones you want to go for. But I will say that as an oro, as either an 80-20, 70-30, 51-49, this is a really good mixto. It's a very I would say very mixable mixto, and one that probably is not going to give you the after effects that you'll find with other mixtos that are out there right now.
No, I agree, especially with the mixtos that are available out there. This is a very good mixto.
Yes.
Let's move on. Let's move on to reposado.
Okay.
This is the reposado, which is very similar to what we tasted, Mike, a few years back. In fact, still have the bottle back here in my library.
Yeah. Now, I remember, correct me if I'm wrong, Alex, but and we talked about it on the podcast. For those of you who have not listened to it, you can go back to tequilaaficionado.com, listen to our original podcast at El Cholo's, and it's so long that it's in two parts. But we actually taste Jarro Viejo reposado, and I fell in love with it. I personally had not had any tequilas with that kind of an anise or licorice kind of aftertaste to it, and I was very, very impressed, very fond of it. I can tell you now with this version, 8-9 years later, however long that was, I'm a little disappointed.
You got a good memory.
Well, in those days, eight years ago, manipulated tequilas were not as popular as they are now. When we say manipulated, we mean that these are 100% agave tequilas, but there's a different style to it. They're sweeter. They have a little bit more smoke, more anise to them. And you can, if you're a purist, you can tell that these flavors have been enhanced. Very much like the baseball players of the 1990s. All the home runs are not, what they were supposed to have been. And so the same with these tequilas. These are enhanced tequilas. That's not to say that that's a bad thing. But, for those of us who are purists, we'll look at this and say they don't belong in the Hall of Fame. Like, some of the baseball players. For those of you who don't care, you're going to say, this is as good as the tequila as what I had 8-9 years ago. So we're going to let you make up your mind. And I was disappointed in my case because I don't taste the anise that we had when we first tasted these years ago. There's not that anise punch to it, that licorice punch to it that we had way back when. And I miss that because that was really an endearing part of that tequila. In fact, it only came in that flavor as far as I'm concerned. I don't think there was a Blanco or an Oro in those days. It was just that flavor profile.
I think you're right. I think you're absolutely right. Well, I've poured the reposado. Actually got some nice bubbles, which I know you love. And it's got a nice light color to it. It's always good to put it behind a white background so you can see what it looks like.
Mm-hmm.
It's got a beautiful color. I like the light. This one's got like a light copper to it also.
Yes, it does.
Light copper color. The nose is actually very light.
By the way, it's always good to go from one nostril to the other to get a feel or a scent of what the tequila is going to taste like. And again, if you can inhale with your mouth open, it really helps because you can taste the tequila before you swallow it. Really.
Now I sense some hot cinnamon.
I'll buy that.
You'll buy that?
I'll buy that. Is it for sale?
Now this has some nice structure to it. It's got a nice mouthfeel.
It is, the structure is very different from the Oro.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, the Oro did not have a structure to it.
No.
It was smooth. It was drinkable, mixable, if you want to call it that. But it didn't stand on its own. It didn't have the structure. Now this does.
Yeah, I think that this reposado, and when we taste the añejo, you may agree with me or not. I think there's a much better quality structured tequilas that the Oro is not. And, that may be a weak link in the chain of the varietals, but that would be up to the listeners, to the watchers, our viewers who are looking at this now.
Got some light vanilla in there, some honey.
You're right about the cinnamon, though. Actually, the
a little bit of cinnamon in there.
Yes.
Some cinnamon.
Cinnamon. That's easier for you to say.
My palate's happy. I do like the reposado.
Yeah, I like it much better than the Oro. A heck of a lot better. It's head and shoulders above the Oro.
Which I don't understand. I don't understand. If you obviously start with a good blanco to get a create a good reposado, and eventually your añejo, anything else you're making. So I don't know why. I don't know what was behind that.
I don't know either. As I said before, the brand owners, the master distiller, the maestro tequilero, they're keeping a lot of this close to the vest. They're not being what's the word I'm looking for? They're not being forthright when it comes to why they did what they did.
We need to get them on Tequila Aficionado so we can talk about it.
I would love to. I know, you and I know the representative for this tequila, and she had a hard time getting a straight answer from them as well. I know, for instance, that if it's a mixto, if it's a 80-20, 70-30 mixto, there tends to be more respect for a tequila if the percentages are higher than a 51-49. But she could not get a straight answer from them as well. So why that is, I don't know, because really the reposado is a great tequila. And I can't wait to hear what you think of the añejo as well. So
yeah, no, I like it. That's very good. It's got a nice long finish to it too.
Yeah, I mean it's there's definitely some for this tequila. There's definitely some substance for it. Now, see, that's the añejo, and
this is the reposado.
That's the reposado. Okay,
so that's what we're having now.
The añejo comes in a black bag like so. Beautiful, nice presentation, by the way. Nice canvas bag. Here's the añejo bottle. As you can see, it's beautiful. It's a nice foil label, kind of like the old style tequilas. Again, just nice presentation, good hand feel. probably very good in your back bar. And I think we should pour some and see what we come up with. I know, Alex, you have full samples of these.
Let me pour.
Oh, that sounds nice. I like our audio on that.
Nice?
Yeah.
Now, interestingly, this also has a light color to it. It's not as dark as I expect it to be.
No,
Which
it's not.
Doesn't mean anything, but
No. There was no POS material with these either, so we're not very sure as to the length of time that it was aged. As an añejo, obviously, as an añejo, it could have been aged anywhere from 1 year to 3 years.
Actually, I have the number on that one. It's 18 months.
18 months? Okay.
18 months in this one.
All right.
And it's in white oak barrels.
Well, that explains
it.
Yes. Good. I'm glad one of us has the POS picture.
One of us
One of us
knows what they're talking about.
The rest of us is. But see, you know what, Alex? I miss the anise.
I'm thinking about it, and I remember that. I actually remember
how much fun it was. It was new. It was new in the tequila industry. Nobody had been what's the word I'm looking for? Enhancing tequilas like they are now. And that particular tequila had a beautiful anise, kind of cloves.
And I can't remember tasting another tequila with anise in it.
Me neither. It was the first one I'd ever had like that. And I flipped. I was completely head over heels with it. But this is not anything like what we had before.
No.
It's not.
I wonder what happened.
I don't know that either. They decided to make an oral, I guess. I don't know. I don't know.
Well, the nose is interesting. It's I do get some agave, which I didn't mention in the reposado. I did get some agave coming through, which I do get on the añejo too.
Yeah,
which is nice. You don't have the wood that's overpowering it.
Well, you don't get that agave scent or flavor with the oro either.
No, you don't at all.
It's not there.
No, this is a very smooth añejo. Very nice on the palate.
Yes.
It just rolls on the tongue, too. I like it.
It's definitely the reposado and the añejo are head and shoulders above the oro.
Definitely.
I personally, I would say if you're going to try Jarro Viejo, skip the oro, let it go. Or use it for mixers and cocktails, but for sipping, I would say stick to the reposado and the añejo. In my opinion, I don't know if you agree with me, Alex, but I
do agree.
And I will say I'm disappointed in that it is not the same flavor profile of something that you and I had 8 years ago. Or 7 years ago, however long that was. And again, you can listen to that podcast. If you don't believe us, you can listen to the podcast on tequilaaficionado.com. That's one of our first audio podcasts that we did at El Cholo's in Pasadena. And you'll listen to what we say about Jarro Viejo. This is almost like two different spirits. It's like two different brands, really.
They might have changed their maestro.
A whole host of things could have happened. estate bottled and grown as opposed to, other tequilas. Just keeping the recipe, within the family as opposed to sharing it with everybody else. A different view of where they want to go as a brand. Any host of things could have been the reason why things have changed. But I miss the old Jarro Viejo. I really do. Because even as a manipulated tequila or as an enhanced tequila, that wonderful aftertaste of anise was so refreshing and so different from what we taste now. In my estimation, I'm disappointed, but that's just me. Alex tends to be a little bit more open-minded than I am, because he can see the nuances and can see where this would work as a mixer, and that kind of thing. But as far as what it used to be, it's not anything like what it used to be, in my opinion.
Well, it is different, but I actually like the Reposado and the Añejo very much. Those are very good tequilas. I love the Añejo. It's actually not heavy like some añejos tend to be. There's sometimes too much going on in an añejo, too much wood, too much vanilla. This is just the right balance for an añejo.
Well, there you go. You folks have two different points of view, and that's why we bring sipping off the cup to all of you every week or as often as we can. I'm Mike Morales in Albuquerque, New Mexico. For Alex in Southern California, Alex Perez. As Alex likes to say, sip wisely.
Enjoy.